Preparations for Father's birthday bash. And come the Lorraine. There's Peter standing at the bar, hiding under the bushes. Gotcha. Good, darling.
We all sang to him this morning. Did he love that? Came out. We're all down here, so we all looked up to him and sang. And so we put the punch bowl on that one. Yep.
I'm going to put my hat on so I can see.
Maybe you wanted to help Grandpa
find it.
Can you help me find it?
There it is.
Oh, goodness, it was there all the time. My goodness gracious me.
So happy birthday, Grandpa.
Have you got something to tell me?
Yeah.
What have you got to tell me?
But we're going to win on the green paper.
And you did that?
Yeah.
And who's that?
Woo.
And it's a road, or is that a snake?
No, that's a woo.
A room.
A worm.
A worm. Oh, a worm, of course. There's his eyes. He's looking. He's looking. And is he going to help us catch a fish, that worm?
Yeah.
Yes. Right. And who put all these lovely sprinkles on?
Nice.
Did you? All by yourself?
Yeah.
And who helped you with these words?
Mum.
And what do they say? Happy birthday. What's that at the bottom? Grandpa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
to your face.
Well, he's holding his paw up. And what's he saying? Hope your birthday's fun, 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 fun. My goodness.
Is it handprints?
Yeah. My handprint.
Go next to Daddy, Erin.
Come over here. Let's take a look at it. Nice and close. Let's look.
Oh, it's got something inside. I wonder what it could be. I wonder what it could be. I'll pull it out, shall I?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
A
Look.
bed here.
So it is.
There's some pretty colours on it.
Yes, aren't they? And you put those pretty colours on too.
Yeah.
And the birds come and get it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think they will love that.
Well, I've had no experience. Safe to continue.
You social butterflies, you.
Just looking at, hang on, I'll just hold it up. And all this work that Lorraine's done. And that's her great.
You should have seen Dad's face when she gave it to him yesterday. He was so thrilled. Oh, it was not the mole one, it was the other one.
Yeah.
But I did win tax, so she can't. But it was auctioned yesterday. Or was it yesterday? I looked last week.
And it's an absolute wobble. You have to know what to
I've given him the birthday message very privately, so I came in.
I had to do that one.
And she left the card at home, yes.
I left the card at home.
Any
I'll
birthday
let him have
messages
it another
here?
time.
I've written it on my card,
Oh, come on.
I did. I wrote it, said all the best.
That was inspirational.
That's right. No, well, I look forward to playing tennis with him for the next 10 years.
Oh, good.
And I'm sure he can make 90. Well, his tennis has improved in recent times compared. He's like a brick wall.
It's pretty good.
Yes, instead of playing that other go for everything.
Put it down.
Hi guys, birthday message.
Birthday message.
You know, happy birthday. Michael, Carol,
Happy birthday, Ellen.
Right behind Nina.
Happy birthday, and I'll just bob down in my traditional form, always bobbing in. Yeah, very good.
Oh, okay.
But let's say that the goal is, you know, it's got some angles on it and dangles and goes up and down, or it's a pyramid or something like that.
Birthday message.
Birthday message. You're looking for another birthday message.
Say happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Ellen.
Ellen. Well, you wanted to. I'd like to reinforce it. Happy birthday, Ellen. Nice to see you've made another one. Talk to you later.
Another decade, you mean?
Yeah, well, whatever. I've got a story about his tennis and all the rest of it, but that's... Yeah.
For another day. So happy birthday, Ellen. Ready, set, go. Oh, you better say Grandpa.
Happy birthday, Grandpa.
You have a message? Happy birthday? Oh, well done, Jack. There's Shirl working hard behind the bar. You're either doing a really good job or a really bad one. No one's down there.
They're all happy, they're all drinking.
Oh, very good. Sorry, but you know.
And it's...
Hello. Hi.
I guess I should put this on video, hey?
I'll leave you to do that.
Aaron, what's that?
So it's a birthday cake for Grandpa.
It's a birthday cake for Grandpa.
Yeah.
80.
80 of it. Chuck that over there somewhere.
Somebody wants some attention.
I think they get the hint, Mum.
Yes?
Yeah.
Can you sitting down? Find a chair, sit down. Sit down.
With this thing?
Oh, no, just grab a chair to here. Want me to grab a chair?
Yep.
There, so you're not so confused.
Okie dokie. G'day.
How are you, Brian?
Oh, hello.
Oh, that's going to be scary.
Cheers over there. No, there's plenty of chairs. George, don't you get that? No.
Here I am taking a bite before the big ceremony.
Here, I'll put this chair out too.
Uh-oh. There's trouble. Yikes.
Meant to do an exorcist or whatever it is.
Yeah, the old Linda Blair. There he is.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, last chance to get a drink if you haven't got one for the appropriate moment. If anyone needs to get one now, everyone charged up. Excellent. Now, in a moment I'll be asking Keith Hepworth to propose a toast to Dad for his 80th birthday. But before I do that, just a couple of minor points I'd like to say if I could.
Mom!
That's the first one. I was, Dad made, as you know, a point about no presents today. I think I thought it was appropriate though that instead of a present there might be a small presentation, which hopefully I can get away with. If that's within the parameters, hopefully it is. And I was thinking what would be an appropriate thing to be able to give to Dad. And I thought you know, if you're 80 years old, especially in Dad's case, what have you got to show for it, really? You know, a few grandchildren, a few power tools, perhaps, tennis balls, those kinds of things. But I thought, Dad, what you really need is something that you can point to and have your friends look at and think, well, that's what I've got to show for 80 years. And I've got it here. And you'll be able to look at it on the wall and say, well, that was all worthwhile. And it's your first gold album. Now, I know you don't have one of these. And I'll just read what's on here so everybody understands. It says, presented to Alan Thomas Morton on the occasion of his octogenarianship, which I had to look up. This compact disc contains advertising jingles co-written and co-produced by Philip Scott Morton. When I was younger, Dad said that playing guitar wouldn't get me very far. He was right, it only got me halfway there. And most of them are on there, and obviously you can't play that one, so I've got the real thing here that you can play at any time. But the moral of the story is, I know you don't know the difference between an A chord and an E chord, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So, Mr. Speaker, without further ado, Keith Hepworth to propose a toast to Dan.
Friends, I need my little reminder. Well, the hour has come for the big candle blowout. It's wonderful to see so many of you here today. Some have come from a long, long way away. Bill and Joy McMahon from Canada, Peter Morton and Lorraine from Adelaide come to mind. There are some that couldn't make it today. Alan's brother Gordon and wife Wynne could not make the journey due to illness, but our thoughts are with them, and I'm sure their thoughts are down here with us this very moment. I met Pam and Alan approximately 35 odd years ago, and our friendship grew immediately. We played tennis for the next number of years, every Sunday afternoon, along with a lot of friends here today. Alan proved to be a wonderful host with a full of optimism, wit and sincerity. I am sure we have all experienced when in need of advice, Alan is there. When we need to talk to somebody, Alan is there. When we need to cut a limb off a tree, Alan is there. Just a few short weeks ago, Pam, Alan and the family needed help, and we were all there. We all have been privileged to see the Morton children grow from babies to adults, marry and become parents themselves. The Morton family tradition is strong and healthy and in good hands. You must be a very proud man indeed. You know, during a lifetime, one makes hundreds of friends, but the true and genuine ones can be counted on the fingers of one's right hand. one of my fingers is Alan. I would now like to propose a toast to Alan on his 80th birthday. So, would you all stand? Raise your glasses. Alan Thomas Morton.
Alan Thomas.
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us.
He started it.
And so say all of us. And so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray!
Alan.
Congratulations.
His birthday now.
We didn't press it, did we? Should we do it again? Oh, it's not working. There we go. She missed the moment.
She can have that.
Did you bring that for me?
Beautiful.
Thank you, darling.
Beautiful.
You going to help me blow out the candles
Later.
later on?
Yeah.
Good.
Shall we like
You're required to say something.
In a minute. I think Danny would like to say something.
If it's good enough for Keith to have a crib sheet, I'd better, because it's mainly because I need one.
I need one.
Well, now, on page 4,
Still altering mine at the traffic light.
Speak up, Donnie.
Keith,
Turn up the speaker. They can't hear at the back.
well, Keith has said some very nice things about me, and I'm sure it came from the heart, although he must have gone to a dictionary to find some of those long words that he used. And it's been a privilege for our family to have such friends as Keith and Billy and their children. I'm told it's part of the family folklore that after I was born, that my father followed the goldfields of Western Australia tradition of wetting the baby's head. And he did this with a glass of wine, which sounds rather surprising given that we had a rather stern Methodist household. If my father had any strong religious views, he kept them to himself, which is not to say that he didn't have any. So we never did learn what made him tick in that respect. But he thought that Methodists had gone too far when they got down on booze. Now, of course, he wasn't a boozer, and his access to wine came from the fact that he had a friend in Boulder who was a policeman, and a part of the policeman's duty was to ensure that the pubs shut on time. I think it was 11 o'clock at night or thereabouts. And because he was a friendly guy, he allowed a fair bit of latitude. And one particular publican used to show his appreciation of this discretionary activity by putting a bottle of wine in the horse trough outside the pub. Now the policeman didn't drink, so he gave the bottle of wine to my father. And so about once a month, Dad got hold of a bottle of wine, and so that he was able to wet my head from some of this wine. But my mother probably had a cup of tea because she was a rather Before she became a Baptist, she was a Methodist, and so she wasn't into all this this heavy liquor. Well, that's how I'm told is how I got started in this world, and I'm pleased to see that after 80 years, I have enough friends left to continue having a head wetting in my honour, and I appreciate it very much. I said to some of you who are here now earlier in the week that if I had to list my assets for accounting purposes, most of our assets couldn't be valued because they are our friends, and it's wonderful to see you all here today and to celebrate with me this occasion. Now, to live to be 80 requires some explanation, and I do this without any previous experience. Of course, as you worked out, I was born in 1918, and World War I was still going strong then, still going strong for others that are here today. My cousin Rhys Evans and his wife Wynne, they were around in World War I. There may be others. If I've done anybody an injustice, put up your hand, but I didn't think there were too many oldies like me. And what was happening in 1918?
That's the flyover that we organised for you. Flyover?
Flyover, yes. Well, there's two notable things at either end of the spectrum. In 1918, women in Britain, who, if they were aged over 30, they were allowed to vote for the first time. This isn't bad considering that women had the vote in Australia after Federation in 1901. And as I said, the other end of the spectrum was that in 1918 the Hong Kong Jockey Club grandstand collapsed and 600 people got killed. I didn't select these. These bobbed up in the record. Now, March is a great month to have been born in, and those who were fortunate enough to appear on this earth in March just have to grin and bear it. But March is a great year. Lots of very interesting things have happened in history. For example, the Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889. That's still there. In 1943, in March, Oklahoma opened in New York. And in 1890, in March, Dwight Eisenhower was born. Now, all these things appear to be unrelated, but there is a certain connection when you think of the fame that those names and those places and those installations have achieved. But I mustn't be too serious, and I want to get on to some of the things that have made me tick, since I've offered to explain how you get to be 80. And I've done a great many things. I've had a very fortunate life. I've done a great many things. Most of them have been conspicuous failures. But I've always been optimistic, and in this I've been supported by Pam 100%. Pam is my best friend. You're all friends, but Pam is my very best friend. And Peter Rogerson here. He and I managed to spend a lot of money and never find anything useful like nickel or oil. In fact, we finished up working for a gentleman named Goward, whose present address is Long Bay Jail in New South Wales. and he'll be there for the next 2.5 years. And we have a number of other friends who don't think kindly of Mr. Goud because
You can say that again.
they were deluded by my being the managing director of Charter Hall Australia into buying some shares. Well, I had some myself, but Mr. Goud made them fairly useless. But so in the bottom drawer you'll find some relics of some of my past endeavours. And as you know, I was in the airline business for a while, TAA. And Dawn was what they call today a cabin attendant, or some fancy name. In those days they were hosties. And so Dawn and I shared the experience of having worked on the flying side of TAA. Then there were long years in the retail business of Thomas Morton, and that's a whole story in itself. And later I became involved with the Charter Hall Group and Westvex Group in mineral exploration and oil exploration. And then when the tough days were on, I took a job with the Department of Planning. I became a planner, and I made a small contribution to what is today the freeway that everybody gets stalled on, that connects with the Mulgrave and the Warrigal Road. And then I was in the Town Planning Appeals Tribunal, passing judgment on people's appeals against applications to do things that other people didn't want. That was great fun. However, I ended my working life in the oil business, and as I mentioned with Mr. Goud. So it's been interesting, and Reese and I survived World War II despite the efforts of Tojo and all those gentlemen from Japan. And I must say that was a fairly close call, because I was involved in a few unscheduled crashes on beaches and things. So to be here today is something of a feat in view of the forces at work in the war years to ensure that I didn't last very long. But of all things, it's been my family and my friends who've been my greatest support and my greatest joy in life. We, as you all know, we've been grieving, and you have helped us. I have always been noted amongst my friends for having some fairly strong views about a number of things, and I tried to find some way of summing this up. Of course, it was Keith who mentioned something about wit, and I thought of this situation that if you claim to be a wit, then you stick your neck out a bit. But there was, in the 18th century, a Church of England clergyman whose name was Sidney Smith, and he had a great quarrel with his bishop, and he said, "Because I am witty, you must not imagine me to be frivolous. And because you are pompous, I shall not imagine you to be serious." So when you get into these words like wit and so forth, you can be on dangerous ground. But I suppose one of the most formative things for people in my era was the war experience. And whilst today we have this considerable clamour for change in our constitution, in our allegiances, and in fact in the questioning the value of this country as a nation. And my formal allegiance, you might say, goes back to the day I took an oath to serve in the Air Force. And I'll read it to you because it's something which I hope none of you ever have to take, none of you young ones ever have to take, because there'll be no need. And the oath reads this: I, Alan Thomas Morton, swear that I will well and truly serve our Sovereign Lord the King as a member of the Air Force of the Commonwealth of Australia, and I will resist His Majesty's enemies and cause His Majesty's peace to be kept and maintained, and that I will in all matters appertaining to my service faithfully discharge my duty according to law. So help me God. And I swore that oath in Adelaide on the 28th day of May 1940 at the number 5 recruiting centre, Adelaide. Now that's a formality which everybody went through, but it stuck with me because it was meaningful and I still believe it. Another man that contributed to, and I'll end on this, to history on the 15th of March, but this was in 1837 when America was on the verge of this great civil war which partly destroyed the national fabric. And Daniel Webster was his name, he was a statesman. And his rallying cry on the 15th of March 1837 was, "Let us stand by the Constitution as it is, and by our own country as it is, united and entire. Let it both be engraven on our hearts. Let it be borne on the flag under which we rally in every emergency, that we have one country, one enduring constitution, and one destiny." I believe that, and it's made me tick. Thank you all.
Handles now.
Just lay it down on your lap. Oh, actually, I'll put it over here. Time has arrived.
I've done too, I'm ahead.
For the record, Ray was the one who just pushed me and made the camera go funny.
Thank you.
Unless somebody can't count.
Oh, sorry.
It was burning on the table clock. Right. Well, we better get ready to...
We got some left for Ray?
Yeah, she's doing it. Where's Bob?
Is that a big cake, Jack? Are you showing Ray Day?
You're also a windbreak.
Coming to help me?
Can they help Grandpa?
Come round here and help me.
All the children going to blow with Grandpa?
Yes, please.
Amy, do you
Come
want
on,
to give
Ashley,
it to
come round
Grandpa?
here. You're going to help me? Oh,
Are we ready for the big
right.
Oh, doesn't have a glass.
Where are the kids?
Where are the kids?
Where are all the children?
Oh, poop.
Here you go, Scott. Sarah, here you go.
Oh, sorry.
Sarah. Come on, Scott.
Oh, no, that's...
Where's Ashley? I've got Ashley.
Who's that?
Come on, come in.
Mum, you get in a bit closer. Mum?
Trying to join. You are Clarissa, come on. You want to come to me? Let's go whenever. You're a heavy one, aren't you? How's that, hey?
We're all here, all the blower outers. What about Jack? Come on, Jack.
Come on, Jack, yeah. What about Richard? No, right. Where's...
Will, I've got Richard. I don't know where Will is.
You better hurry up.
Daddy's got the camera there.
Are you going to blow them?
Are we right?
Go on.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
Well, yeah, I lost that one.
Wait a minute, we've got to get Canada one again.
I'll take off the candles.
That's okay.
We can't blow for a minute. It's gone cold.
You're a clever boy.
Are we still
Without fail.
I'm on there about 3 times popping in.
Such a trademark.
I was actually going to where the flower girl who just like something very.
The knife had gone cold and we have to have it.
Aye.
Want me to keep this going?
Nah, give it a rest for a while. Hello, sweetie boy.
Hello. Haven't seen you. Well, it's been like that.
Oh, you can walk across it and let it get wet.
Just can't get rid of you, can we?
No.
Just keep coming back.
There's still a just thought I'd better do it. It's a surprise thing. Thanks.
What brand?
You should get a fan or something. He went and played the next shot. Not that quick. Not that quick.
I wonder what they're saying. Don't worry, the battery's about to run out, so...
That's good. We don't suppose we
Well, if it's any consolation.
They come up like that.
Those 2 little ones there.
There we are. Captured on camera.
Oh, you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
We should have them here too.